No matter who you are or what you believe, I think there's something we can all agree on. Fried food is amazing. And I'm not talking air fried or stir fried or even sauteed. Nah, I'm talking fried, as in food that has taken a bath in hot oil until the outside is perfectly golden brown and crispy, while its interior is moist and succulent. Yes, no matter where you live in the world or what kind of diet you eat, you've probably had fried food, and well, it is delicious. Now, there are two main ways to go about frying food, either deep frying or shallow frying, and today I'm going to tell you about both and best practices for cooking either way. So, let's get frying. Hello and welcome to I Want to Cook. My name is Chef Matt and this channel is all about helping you be a better cook. And after watching today's episode, well, you could be a fry master. Now, just talking a little bit more about fried food, if you've ever been to a state fair or, well, a fast food restaurant or even a high-end one, you know that fried food is delicious. Oftentimes it has that crispy battered skin, maybe it's panko crusted, maybe it's beer battered, but it's just so good and just about anything can be fried. And it seems that we humans just have a natural love of fried food. There's just something about it. It's unctuous, it's often salty and savory. Just thinking about frying food is getting my mouth watering and, well, maybe yours too. Now, as I mentioned in that intro, there's two main ways to fry food, either deep frying or shallow frying. And while each method has its differences, there's also quite a bit of similarities. So let's get into those first because these best practices will apply to both methods. Okay, first things first, I've got to touch on safety. Now, as you probably know, cooking in general requires a degree of care. I mean, after all, you're working with fire and sharp objects and boiling liquids. You know, cooking can have a degree of danger to it just by its nature. But frying in general, well, even more so because you're dealing with quite a bit of hot, scalding oil. So that means you're going to want to be very careful with how you interact with the food in that oil. You're going to want long tongs like this or a slotted spoon like this to help extract food from that oil. You can also use what's called a spider. That's kind of a restaurant term for a tool that is used especially for extracting food from hot liquids, especially oil. Now, this is unlikely to happen, but you never know. Should the whole thing catch on fire and suddenly you're dealing with a pot that is on fire because of oil, well, what you're going to want to do is turn off the heat and smother it with the lid. Put that metal lid back on the pan. You can also smother it with salt and baking soda, but what you don't want to do is try to put water on it. That will not put out that fire, it will only make it worse. And this is also a good reminder to let you know you should always have a fire extinguisher in your kitchen. This is also a good time to mention pans and their handles over a stove. Now, this is good advice whatever you're cooking, but especially in regards to a pan or pot filled with hot oil. You want to make sure that the handle, well, it is not over the stove. That's where little hands can grab up and reach it and, well, something terrible can happen. So instead, take the handle of the pot or pan and move it over the stove so that it is not accessible from underneath. The last thing you want is that thing pulled over the stove and, well, oil going everywhere. Okay, with the fine print out of the way, let's talk oil because, well, that's what deep frying is all about. And it's very important that you choose the right kind of oil. you're going to want to use what's known as a high heat oil. And that is, well, an oil that can be heated safely to a high temperature. So we're talking vegetable oil, even shortening. I like to use something like this. This is peanut oil. This is a really great oil for frying, whether it's shallow frying or deep frying. But what you want to stay away from are oils like olive oil or even butter. Those have what's called a lower smoke point, and that just means that, well, if they get too hot, they'll start smoking, they'll start breaking down. They're really not great for frying, so don't use those for deep frying or shallow frying. Whatever type of oil or fat you're using for your frying, you're gonna wanna make sure it's heated to the right temperature. And well, what is that? Well, you're gonna wanna aim for about 365 degrees. That's kind of a good just one to keep in mind, and you can remember that by how many days there are in a year. You don't want to go past 375 degrees. Once you do that, the food can easily burn, the oils can break down. It's just not that great. Now, to measure the temperature of the oil, you can use a thermometer, one that obviously goes that high, or you can use a couple of rudimentary methods, yet ones that still work. One way to do this is real low tech. You can take a wooden spoon or a chopstick and put it in the oil, and if that starts to bubble, well, the oil is at the right temperature. The method I prefer is either the bread or what I call the chip test. You can take a small piece of bread and put it in the oil, and if after a minute it is nice and brown, well, the oil is ready. What I like to do is kind of a play on that. I take a corn tortilla, I cut it into chip portions, and I put it in the oil. And if that becomes nice and crispy after about a minute or so, well, the oil is nice and ready. You'll know the oil is ready because you'll see it bubbling and you'll see that chip rise to the top of the surface. You know it's go time. Now, I mentioned this in the last video when we made those homemade taquitos, in addition to a past video where we made homemade potato chips, but I like to fry outside, and if that is an option for you, I recommend it. Deep frying and shallow frying creates an enormous amount of just smoke and oil and splatter, and well, I find it easier if you just do that outside because all those smells and all that oil can dissipate outdoors instead of in your house, because the last thing you want is oil everywhere and, well, possibly setting off the fire alarm. Okay, let's talk deep frying, and this might be the type of frying that you are familiar with, and it's called deep because, well, there's just a deeper level of oil. It's usually going to be about 3 or 4 inches of oil, or enough to cover the food that you are frying. But what you don't want to do is fill the container more than halfway full. We've all seen those videos of deep frying a turkey where the thing is filled up and they put the turkey in and oil goes everywhere. Bad idea, and please don't attempt to deep fry a turkey if you've never deep fried before. That's a whole other thing. But to deep fry, that means you're going to want a vessel that can hold more oil. So traditionally it is something like this. This is a Dutch oven. This is my lovely Staub enameled cast iron Dutch oven that I got many years ago, and is just a big workhorse. You can also use an electric deep fryer. And you know, if you don't do this regularly or you don't do it a lot, this is actually what I recommend. It's just a lot easier. These have a built-in thermostat. You know, they don't require quite as much know-how, and they even have a nice little basket that you can use to put the food in. Now, electric deep fryers, they don't cost a whole lot, but I've got a tip. I see these pretty much every time I go to the thrift store, often new in the box or maybe used once. It seems people get these things, maybe they just don't like them or they don't use them as much as they thought they would, and they donate them. I made a whole video on appliances that you should buy at the thrift store, and well, this is one of them because they are just so cheap. I bought this one at the thrift store probably over a decade ago, new in the box, and it works great. But whatever you're using, either a deep pot or a fryer like this, you're going to want to make sure that there is enough oil in it to cover the food. Now, compared to shallow frying, deep frying offers a lot of flexibility because, well, again, you can pretty much fry anything. So whether it's something small and thin like potato chips or a big chicken leg, well, you can fry it. Deep frying works best for foods that need to be fully submerged, as well as foods that have like a more liquid type batter binding. So something like donuts or even onion rings, or that aforementioned chicken leg, maybe like the one I made that was crusted in a panko crust, those are ideal candidates for deep frying. Another great thing about deep frying is, well, it is fast. I mean, they call it fast food for a reason because so many of those places use those big fryers. When you have oil that is cooking at like 365 degrees, that can transmit a lot of energy into that food to cook it quickly and, well, deliciously. But there are some definite downsides to deep frying, and first and foremost, it's just the amount of oil you need to do it. I mean, oil, it's not cheap, especially if you're using something like peanut oil or grapeseed oil, a better type of oil. That can run quite a bit of money, especially if you do this often and you're not able to reuse your oil. And there's no denying that, you know, it's just kind of a thing. I mean, it's a little bit of an ordeal to get the big pot out or get the fryer out, load it up with oil, heat it up, and then, you know, you've got kind of the residue, and it's just kind of an ordeal. In truth, I actually don't do a whole lot of deep frying, and when I do, I just use an electric fryer. I find that a little bit easier because it automatically gets up to the right temperature. It's just a little less mess. And if you're interested in deep frying, well, you might want to try that first before, you know, doing the whole kind of Dutch oven thing that maybe grandma did. But in general, I actually prefer shallow frying, so let's talk about that. Okay, so why is it called shallow frying? Well, because it only requires a shallow amount of oil, maybe about an inch or two, and that means you can use a smaller pan. This is what we used in our last episode when we made those amazing, delicious homemade taquitos. When we pan fried those, we used this pan, and as you can see, you know, it's a lot smaller than a Dutch oven, and we only had to fill it with oil for maybe about an inch or two to make those taquitos. So that means there's a lot less oil you have to use, a lot less expenditure on the oil, and it's just easier. You're just not dealing with that great quantity of oil, nor do you have to worry about discarding as much of it when you're done. One thing to know about shallow frying, though, is that you're probably going to have to turn the food. Because the oil does not cover the food, that means only one side is cooking at a time, but that's really not a huge deal. You can just carefully take your tongs and turn the food. So if you're making something like a chicken cutlet or even those taquitos, just reach in there and turn the food to make sure that all sides get nice golden brown and delicious. One thing to be aware of when shallow frying, though, is that because there is less oil, well, the recovery time, the time it takes for the oil to get back up to the proper temperature after you put the food in, that can take a little bit longer. So just kind of make sure you're monitoring that. The last thing you want to do is dump in a bunch of food when the oil isn't up to temperature, and in addition to taking longer to cook, well, the food just isn't going to turn out very well. It can be kind of greasy, it just won't get the right coloring. So you just want to monitor that to make sure that everything is crisping up nicely. And just keep in mind, there's some things that just aren't really great candidates for shallow frying. So things like French fries, the chicken leg, even onion rings, they can be a little more difficult because they're not just swimming in that oil and getting nice and browned all over. There's that turning involved that you have to do. But still, shallow frying is a great alternative to deep frying. Again, there's a lot less mess and less waste. And if you're new to all of this, I recommend starting with shallow frying first. Maybe start with those taquitos we made last week and, well, just see how it works. I think you're going to really like the results. And whichever method you use, make sure that you have your mise en place in place for extracting the food. So that's going to mean some paper towels and a dish or a vessel that can house that food. You can also use like a rimmed baking sheet and a wire rack to put the food on. Make sure you salt it well, if appropriate, when it comes out of the fryer. And you can always keep it warm in an oven, usually about 200 degrees Fahrenheit, until everything is done. But there you go. There's a little kind of shallow frying versus deep frying 101. I hope you try these methods. Again, maybe try shallow frying first. If this is new to you, let me know how it works out. Okay, I have to know in the comments below, what is your favorite fried food? Now we need to talk about what to do with that oil after you have used it. And now it is possible to reuse high quality oil, and if you're going to do that, make sure you strain it very, very well. But as far as discarding the oil when you are done using it, this is very important. First and foremost, do not put it down your drain. That is a really bad idea for a number of reasons. It can damage your pipes, it can clog up city sewer lines. It's just a really big no-no. So what you're going to want to do instead is discard it in a safe manner. And first and foremost, check with your waste management or your local recycler to see if they have advice. But in general, the best thing to do with that used oil is to put it into a non-recyclable type of container that is sealable, and then discard it with the trash. But again, whatever you do, don't put it down your sink. In fact, it's really not a good idea to have any sort of oil or residue going down the sink. Even when you are cleaning out the pan, it is a good idea to take some used newspaper or some paper towels and really kind of gather as much of the oil as possible and then toss it instead of flushing it down the drain. I should also mention that my wise mother, who we made a whole video on waste not, want not, she recommends saving a little bit of oil and using it for when you're browning meats. That's a great way to use some leftover oil. You can just put it in a small jar, put it in the refrigerator, and use it as needed. Again, you can make that oil go a little bit farther that way. Okay, trivia time. Last week I asked you to identify what this thing is, and well, it's still a little bit of a stumper. A few folks commented that this might be a pastry docker, and some others said that it could be a meat tenderizer. I'm still not quite exactly sure. I mean, it could even be like a gardening tool for all I know. I got this at the thrift store. I think, again, I'm thinking pastry docker. That's what I'm leaning toward. But thank you to all who responded. This week's culinary trivia is an easier one, I promise. Who can identify this? If you know what this is or you have a guess, put it in the comments below, and I will of course let you know the correct answer in the next video. Hey, as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining me in my kitchen. Thank you for subscribing. Until next time, I hope you want to cook.